introduction time today. So like I said, my name is Shannon Baker. I'm the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction here at the County Office of Ed. And so the team that I am lucky enough to work with is the team that supports differentiated assistance and LCAP support throughout the county. And one of those pieces is our support for charter schools in the differentiated assistance process. So I'd like to say a big welcome. I'm going to open up the meeting and share a few things with you as we go forward. And then we will start into the sort of informational and next steps part of the things that you want to know, I'm sure. Like what do we need to do? Why are we here? How are you going to help us? And how are you going to partner with us? And so that's what we want to make sure you have today. We can go on to the next slide. Thanks, Jewel. So sometimes when we get into processes like differentiated assistance or LCAP, it can feel a lot like doing a bunch of steps or filling out a template. And that is exactly not what we want differentiated assistance work to be, because when we, pull it down to the core of what we're doing, it's to help kids. I mean, that's why we're all in this profession, is to be there for kids. And having the dashboard available to us helps us shine a light on students that might need additional support. And so that's the whole partnering work that we're going to do with you over the next year, is to center our work around those kids and then help you as you move forward and thinking about plans that can center those kids and help support in their areas of need. So the photos on here are not like photos we pulled from the internet or something that are children that are just kind of not attached to us. They actually are attached to us. So I'm going to have Deborah and Jewel, who are members of our team, who I'll introduce in a minute, talk about where these photos came from and how it helps center the work that they do in terms of support for differentiated assistance. So we'll start with Deborah and then go to Jewel.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Deborah Hernandez. I'm Director of Continuous Improvement, LCAP. And I have a couple of pictures here. The first picture you see on your left is a group of students that would come together for lunch with the principal. And it was a huge deal. Like, they would love to come together. I would sit down with them. We would have lunch together and just talk about their wonderful lives. I just love that so much. It was a great way to connect with our students. The second picture you see all the way to your right is students that were in a kindergarten classroom, and they were doing some talking. And those students now have already graduated high school. So whenever I think about the work that I'm doing, I keep these smiling faces to the heart of what I do, knowing that we're really making a difference in their work. I'll turn it over to Jill now.
Good morning, everyone. No, go ahead. I'm Jewel Alderson. I'm the Director of System of Support. And when I was in the classroom, I had the privilege of building a medical chemistry program to go with our medical pathway. And so as I enter into differentiated assistance work and really think about some of those of you who are looking at graduation rates and college career indicator, my passion is really creating opportunities for our students to learn authentically, to build the skills that they need, and to really be ready to make informed decisions about their own future. One of the most kind of impactful things that I think I got to do on a regular basis is once a year we would go to Pharmacy Day and take a whole group of students. I taught down at East Lake High School in Sweetwater, a whole group of students up, and students never really realized what careers in pharmacy would look like. And, when it comes to chemistry being a really challenging course in high school, the fact that so many students could see where it was used and where it was valuable gave them the reasoning to really engage in that meaningful learning and to see, we come out of that. And I had kids who'd say, wow, I want to be a pharmacist now. And so as we think about the intentional work that we're doing around the different qualifications for differentiated assistance, it's not just the numbers on the dashboard. It's not just the data the lag data that often brings us here, but it's this individual student and the journey that our system is designed to take them on. And our goal and our North Star is really about tackling poverty. And the way we do that is engage our students in meaningful work or meaningful learning and send them out into the world, able to create a space where they can afford to live and work here in San Diego County. So this is one of the framing pieces for the work that I've done over the years. And as we enter into differentiated assistance, just really encourage you to think about those students that you are serving and where the work you are doing, even though it feels technical, can launch them into a future that's very meaningful.
Thank you very much, Jewel and Deborah. So now I'm going to give you your turn. So I think what's really wonderful is you work at a charter school. So you have, a smaller system than some of our larger districts do, where there's thousands and thousands and thousands of students. But I'd like you to think about a student to center the thinking that we go through in this meeting. And I'm going to open up some breakout rooms for 5 minutes. And I'd like you to just go in there and bring forward that child and think about why that child centers in your work and how the thinking about the improvement work that we're going to do might support that child. So we're going to have a 5-minute conversation, and then we'll come back and get into some more of the informational pieces that you need to know as we move forward in the process. Okay, I'm going to open that right now. Our goal today is for you to keep that student, whoever was in your mind and you spoke about to your colleagues in the breakout room, that you keep that in mind as we kind of go through the rest of our presentation today. And as you come back to different pieces of work that we're going to do throughout this year, we're always going to start this way. We're always going to start with centering around kids and making sure that their names and faces are present in our thinking as we go forward. Next slide. So this is our team. This is our team that's going to be there for you over the next year. I've already introduced myself. Jewel and Deborah are also spoke about the students that they have worked with over the years. And then I also, Thelma Stevenson is here in the room. She's our coordinator of LCAP and differentiated assistance. Veronica Maxwell, coordinator system of support. She doesn't going to be doing a lot of work with you as charter schools. And Lisa Herzog is our director of SCPDF and also supports DA and LCAP work. So it's the 6 of us. We're here for you, and we're excited to be working with you this year. So I'm going to turn it over to Jewel in a moment, but I just want to let you know some of the things we're going to cover in the rest of our time together. We're going to talk about differentiated assistance and how qualification occurs. We do have some new people that are joining us this year. We're going to reflect on some feedback that we received from previous DA sessions, share our philosophy and our approach to this work. And we're going to provide you an overview of the upcoming process and then talk about how to effectively build your DA team. And we'll end with some next steps. So I'm going to turn it over to Jewel, and she is going to get us started with the rest of the agenda.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Shannon, for kicking us off. As we have new folks, and some of you may have been in differentiated assistance in the past, but perhaps you particularly are new to the team, we just want to make sure that everyone has a common understanding of what is differentiated assistance and to know what it means to qualify for differentiated assistance. And since many of you might be new to this process, we would love for you to take a minute in the chat and just share who you are, where you're from, and if you are new or back for another round as far as your experience in differentiated assistance. So in the chat, we invite you to just share what charter system that you are with, and if you are new or experienced in this space of differentiated assistance. That way, as we get into this work, we are able to ensure that we're meeting your particular needs and that we describe it enough for those of you who are new, but if everyone's has a little experience, we want to make sure that we're not taking too much time on that. So take a moment in the chat. What charter are you from? And is this your first DA experience, or are you back for another round? I also want to acknowledge that in some spaces, differentiated assistance, it's a system that is designed for overarching educational systems. And within our charters, a lot of you are alternative ed or may come from a space where it may be that you are going to spend time with us over many coming years. And we just want to acknowledge that we are here to be partners with you on improvement, to come alongside the improvement work you're already doing. We don't want you to feel like you have to come to check a box, but we're hopeful that we're providing the ongoing support so that those students we thought about earlier are getting what they need, but also you as a system are getting what you need and feel supported by us as you go through that improvement work. And so as we get into this, we really want to think in a more meaningful and a systems way, because in our every deliberation, we must consider the impact of our decisions on the next 7 generations. And this Native American saying, I think, brings a lot of meaning to this, because when we look at the work we do here, education that we have with our young kids, these decisions impacts so many years of their learning and so many years of the data that's going to be part of this, but also their children and the children that are to come, particularly when we think back to that shift that we can make in their own ability to economically engage here in San Diego, right? So these are impacts as you serve that student you thought about earlier that will really be meaningful to them in their future. And so every decision we make has such an impact on our community, on our students, on our county, and beyond. In differentiated assistance, there are a variety of levels of support. So level 1 is the support that we give to all of the LEAs, our charters, and our districts across the County of San Diego. It's provided by us here at the County Office of Education. And so you might have engaged in a variety of networks or meetings or just informative practices aligned to being a school here in our county. Differentiated assistance is considered level 2. And so this is individualized technical assistance, and you get to qualify for this through things on the California School Dashboard, and we'll jump into that. And that again is provided by our County Office of Ed. There is a level 3 of intensive intervention, and that includes some additional supports. So if one of you is part of that higher level of support this year, and in future years, if you are in that, we will be informing you about some additional supports that will come alongside you at level 3. But today we're really going to focus on our level 2 differentiated assistance as we enter into this work with you. So we know the California School Dashboard is where we get the data that determines who is eligible for differentiated assistance. And in this work, there's a few things, and we're going to look at that technical education code so that we know this is kind of the most foundational principles as to why this is designed. At the end of the day, though, this is really about improving outcomes for your students and being your partner in that work. So those of you who are here will engage in data work. We'll do some root cause analysis. But last year, some of you might have been part of our Root Cause Institute, but we want to circle back around, reevaluate. Is that root cause? Is that data still confirming that that's the area you want to make change in? Once we have that and get into identification of strengths and weaknesses, we're going to be working around how do you identify those evidence-based programs and practices that align with the eligibility criteria that brought you to differentiated assistance, as well as some of the other criteria at your system that might be in that body of work that you want to do when it comes to improvement. Of course, our differentiated assistance process is really an accountability metric aligned to your LCAP. And so we want to make sure that our improvement is captured there in your LCAP and that your LCAP aligns to the needs of your students that we are working here in differentiated assistance around. We do not need to read through the ed code, but we wanted to make sure that you saw that there are some strict components of this, but at the same time, our goal this year is to step away and really have a more improvement focus with just a core set of areas that we're going to work on as deliverables, but really thinking about how you are already doing this work in your system or how we can support you in doing that if there are areas to expand. Now, why are you in differentiated assistance? Here are some of the eligibility criteria that can bring you into this space. So your student group performance in 2 or more state priority areas on the dashboard across multiple years could be one of the things that brings you into differentiated assistance. The other could be 2 or more local indicators that are in the red. Or it could be a combination. So perhaps you have one state priority area for that student group and one local indicator. So when we get into our work with you as charters, you're a little bit different than the district system, which requires a minimum of 2 years. So for you, it is dashboard to dashboard. So when we talk about the 24-25 process, we are not talking about the school year. We're actually talking about how we're going started now. Based on the 2024 dashboard release that happened in November. And then at the 2025 dashboard release, we'll be transitioning into the future year, in which case you'll learn about your eligibility at that point. Sometimes it gets confusing because the priority areas and the indicators, some priority areas have more than one indicator, right? So this overall kind of gives you all the priorities of your LCAP and how they align with the state and local indicators. And so you might see if you have a student group who has academic performance in ELA and math, both in the red, that might not move you into differentiated assistance because they're in the same priority. So it would be areas in two different priorities that would trigger a differentiated assistance qualification. Here are the many student groups who are part of our differentiated assistance process. So you're identified based on a particular student group or multiple student groups when it comes to those priorities. This is the first year that we see LTELs on the dashboard. So our long-term English learners are newly added to the dashboard, but it is based on multiple years of data. And so as you dig into that data that we'll be working on in February, you will get a better picture of how your LTELs are progressing if that's an area where you are qualifying. And even if you didn't qualify for LTELs, I encourage you to take a peek at your dashboard just to see where you are, because that is a new metric that's really meaningful when we look to really serve some of the students who tend to be least served in our systems. We have many of you who are continuing in differentiated assistance, and so we want to welcome you back. We also have a handful of newly identified schools. So welcome to those of you who are new in our charter eligibility for differentiated assistance. I also want to celebrate the fact that we have a number of charters who last year were in differentiated assistance, and this year they're not qualifying. Now, as it's year to year, we could see them back here, but we want you to know we're a partner in your improvement. Whether you're in DA or not, we know you love to improve and you always want to be improving. So anytime that you end up in our support system, we welcome you and look forward to helping you along that process. As we dove into a pretty significant redesign, which Dr. Hernandez will give us an overview of in a moment, we did start with a lot of the past process. And I just want you to know that we heard many of your experiences from the last couple of years or from last year for charters and really took those to heart as we designed. So we did some feedback-driven design. We heard you wanted more differentiation, a clarity of expectations, that it was aligned to ongoing work. You didn't want to stop, come to our meetings, do what we said, and then head back to your improvement. We really want to align with the work you're doing. I want to give you more work time when we're together. We wanted to give you an opportunity to group with others who have similar qualifications and affinity groups, access to coaches, less content, but more choice, learning from each other, clarity of process, leveraging existing networks that you're already engaged in, increase our best practices and our promising practices in this work. So there are many different elements of feedback that we looked over, but we just wanted you to know that every time you fill out those surveys, we looked at all of them and we will continue to look at all of them. And we really appreciate when you give us feedback on this work because we take it to heart in our design going forward. We also know we took into account the things that are required by the Department of Ed. And so you'll see that our arc with you follows alongside with what the Department of Ed has laid out for our work here, with the mindset that we want to align with your work rather than making your work align with our process. With that being said, I'm going to hand this over to Deborah and let her give you insight in our new process.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, so with all of that feedback that we've received, we are really looking into how to create a system for support. And so we're going to share a little bit about what that's going to look like this coming year. Thank you.
I'm frozen.
Hold on one second. We're a little frozen here. There we go. All right, perfect. I think it's one back.
Frozen
The work that we've been doing has really made us think differently about the support that we'll provide you. Part of this work is really recognizing that we are working and focusing on the human side of the work that we do, really thinking about is up further, yeah.
Yeah.
About the systems. We're really looking at the systems instead of symptoms as we do the work, and that really that differentiated assistance work is really aligned to the LCAP development. And so as we do this work, we're making sure that that is a part of our considerations. Really, we recognize too that an LEA's journey includes required elements and the local context, especially for our charter schools. We know your local context is very important. And so we want to make sure that as we work through this, you'll see that we put together some affinity groups, we put together some ways to meet your individualized needs, not only as an individual charter school, but also I'm really thinking about a network of charter schools that have the same eligibility to support that work. And we want to just always remember, as if you come alongside us through our LCAP work and our other putting it all together, is that qualitative data collection is essential, especially in understanding the lived experiences of our students, families, and community member. If you recall, last year we did a lot of work around street data, and so we want to continue that conversation on how do you know what's happening within your system. We know that many times when we talk about data, we're talking about dashboard data, which is older data. As you know, it's not relevant in terms of what's happening currently in your system. So we want to make sure that we continue to focus in on that qualitative data collection and making sure that you're speaking to those students in your system, the families in your systems, and the communities that will support your work. So that pushed us to think differently. And as you go forward to the next one, the graphic you see here is really our how we imagine and how we put together our process this year based on your feedback. So our putting it all together really does include LCAP supports for 2025, as you know, as well as differentiated assistance process for the 24-25 school year. So as we start on the top there, you'll notice that for the LCAP supports, this is for all LEAs, including all charter schools. All charter schools create an LCAP. And so I'm going to go from left to right. As you notice that right now, we are in the technical season where we're providing workshops and technical support. And there's a lot of information that'll be going out on those, as well as your mid-year report is due on by February 28th. And as you continue to move across, you'll see that we have our LCAP Increase Improved Services Workshop, which is a very important workshop that you'll be invited to really assist you in creating a well thought out and an LCAP that really ties to all the different components. And then, as you know, LCAP is due on July 1st as we move across the dashboard analysis on that top row. As we move our way down, and considering those components, we are looking at differentiated assistance and the way to support the work that you're doing. So first of all, today we're at the DA orientation that's specifically for charter schools. We heard this last year that we really need a space that we can have conversations about the requirements and the expectations for our charter schools. That's why we are having a very specific orientation for you today. You'll also notice that we'll have a kickoff coming up on February 11th, and you'll see there's action period in between that, and then improvement affinity group happening in mid to late April, another action period, improvement affinity group in September, and then our dashboard analysis workshop, which would be towards the end. We're hoping this year that by November 15th, the dashboard book will be released. But we wanted to make sure that you saw this visual to support the work as we move forward. The four workshops or the kickoff and the affinity groups are really going to be based on improvement work. And Veronica is going to come on in just a little bit to share a little bit about the affinity grouping and our initial thinking on putting you together with other charter schools that are focusing in on the same area. So I'm not going to steal your thunder, Veronica, I'll let you share that information as we move forward. There are some specific folders and resources for you there. You'll see the links on the bottom. But just note that you will have access to coaching. We have systems in place to support the action period work that will be happening that Veronica will be sharing in just a few minutes. So what to expect is that you will be engaging. We heard from you. We want it to be meaningful in your local context and make sure that the improvement work is aligned to your specific eligibility, as well as the focus and top priorities that you're working on within your charter schools. You attended today your kickoff meeting, as well as the affinity group improvement meetings. We're going to meet regularly with coaches or attend office hours, virtually or in person, really based on your eligibility and the work that you're doing. We will ask that you complete some action period activities such as the data work, root cause analysis, either a new one if it's new eligibility, like for instance, if it's new for long-term English learners, or a reevaluation of that work, as well as improvement work that's happening in your system. We want to make sure that as we move along, that we are documenting the information. We have a resource to help with that is called the DA deliverables, and that document will be something that you will be able to document your journey as you work through this year. In addition, we have organized the information and resources on what we're calling launch pages. I've been calling them launch pads for some reason, but launch pages is really it's a space for you. It's a place for you just to find all the information, like upcoming workshops. How do I register for this, or what's coming up? There's one page there for you, and you'll see there's a link, and it will give you the information, dates, and sign up information as well. So that was a lot of information. I know we'd like you just to think a minute. If you can just go back to that graphic, please, Joel, just to think a second for our putting it all together support plan for you, and any, initial thoughts or questions you might have. We want to pause here and provide you an opportunity to either come off of your mic or to add information to the chat box. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. And so we're going to continue, but please, if you think of something, please add it to the chat box. So it gives me a great pleasure to introduce Veronica Maxwell, who's going to talk a little more about the affinity groups and coaching.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Hi, everybody. I'm Veronica Maxwell, as Deborah said. I am so happy to be in this space with you. As Shannon shared earlier, I really just love working in charter schools because of the intimacy it provides, and just knowing that really that you have and do so much to support your students. And so I'm just very grateful to be a part of it, to be able to partner with you and throughout this journey. Several of you already know me through CSI work, so we'll be happy to know that I'm going to be able to continue my journey in supporting you through CSI this coming year as well. But for the purpose of today, we are going to be talking about affinity groups and coaching. So we're really excited about this. This is something new that we're going to try. So let's learn all about it. And hopefully you can be just as excited as we are. We really, as Deborah mentioned earlier, and so did Joel, we really wanted to design a system based on your feedback that allowed you to have an opportunity to network and collaborate with other charter schools that are going through similar issues or design systems that you are. And so we really took a look at everyone that is in our differentiated assistance grouping, and to help us figure out how to group you and place you in an affinity group. There's a lot of different considerations that we looked at. So for example, we looked at what your DA eligibility was, if you were in CSI, are in CSI or not. We looked at your charter model. We looked at perhaps previous root cause analysis, or what your interest is in going forward with a root cause analysis, your needs assessment based on your top priorities, and also based on the different San Diego County Office of Education networks that we provide, and trying to really tie that into some of the work that you're doing. So with all that consideration, this is the 3 different affinity groups that we came up with specifically for the charters. And so there are 10 of you who are the lucky ones to have overlapping between the CSI and also DA. And so we created a group to help align those two, because we realized too that a lot of the work that you'll be engaging in this year, if you happen to be in CSI, really just aligns with or overlaps with the work in DA. And so rather than have you do things twice, we're really doing a conscientious effort of helping you align the work, because it should just be one work that you're doing together. And so we are going to journey with you and partner with you throughout this process. And then we also have 6 of our schools that are virtual or hybrid charters that are very similar in that respect. So we're going to try to support you and give you the opportunity to connect with other virtual hybrid charters that are going through maybe some similar things as you. And then we had 6 of our site-based charters that will be grouped together. And coincidentally enough, most of those site-based charters were identified for differentiated assistance based on LTELs. And so a lot of the work and focus we'll be doing this year in supporting site-based charters will be centered around some LTEL work, if that pertains to them or to you. Another difference that's coming to us this year is that where in the past you might have been assigned a one-on-one coach, you still might have a one-on-one coach, but really coaches are assigned to us this year based on affinity group. And so each affinity group will have coaches assigned that will be supporting you throughout your differentiated assistance journey. And those matches from our San Diego County Office of Ed coaches that were assigned were based on either coaching recommendations, leadership recommendations from our county. We also had sent out a survey to all of you last year asking for your feedback on what you would like to see in a coach. And so we really read and took that into consideration. As Jewel and Deborah have said, we really do read your feedback, and we want to make sure that you are happy with this experience. So we took a look at those. And we have different coaches on our staff with different expertise. For example, we have some coaches that are experts in chronic absenteeism, others that are experts in LTEL. So we really took a look at our coaching experts and tried to place them in the appropriate affinity group. And then, of course, just network alignment. And for, again, those of you who are in CSI, we have coaches with a lot of CSI experience that will be supporting you through this journey. One thing to note is that you won't find out today who will be supporting with you as your coach, but you will find out soon. It will be coming to you through an email. So please expect an email in the next few weeks with some information on some next steps, some information that you can get, and it'll also connect you with the coaches that you have been assigned. And I say coaches because, again, depending on your affinity group, you might have the beautiful opportunity to work with several different coaches from our county that have the expertise to be able to support you through this. One thing we really want to make sure that you start to think about, especially before the differentiated assistance launch day on February 11th, is start and begin to think about who is going to be on your DA team, because this should not fall on just you. This work should not be just one person's work. In order to really make a difference and see improvement, we need to leverage the expertise of everyone on our staff. And so thinking about specifically this DA team, think about who is really going to be the person that's going to help you and partner with you through looking and taking a deep dive at that data. Who's going to be the person that's going to really be able to help you look through those root causes and identify changes. Thinking about really, it should be someone at your site, anyone that's on your team should be someone really who has oversight and influence on the indicator or student groups that got you into DA. So for example, if LTELs is one of the qualifiers that has you assigned into DA, and you happen to have an English learner facilitator as part of your staff, it might be a good idea to invite that English learner facilitator to sit on this team, because you're going to want his or her voice as you start to think about some of these change ideas and moving forward to help support your LTELs on your campus. But also please note that it's not a one-time deal. Like, who you decide to put on your team now it doesn't have to be those people that continue on. You can change it as the year goes. So for example, as you're starting to dig a little deeper and you're starting to realize that, ooh, we really need an expert in math, because here's some of the things that we're uncovering as we do the root cause analysis. And so then you might want to then invite the math teacher to be a part of the team. So it is flexible. And again, you're not alone. Your coaches will be there every step of the way to help you if you have any questions throughout this process. And so I think it goes now back to Shannon. All right, so Shannon is going to review your next steps and resources.
Okay, so the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to share some of the next steps, understanding that this whole piece that we're talking about right now is just an orientation and sort of a very broad overview to get you ready when we actually do the kickoff with your team on February 11th. So let's go to the next slide. So here are some things that you can do in the meantime to get ready for that opportunity. So the dashboard came out right before Thanksgiving break, and if you have not already, which I'm sure you've already looked at your data, the thing would be to go back through your data through the lens of differentiated assistance. So where are the places, the student groups and the eligibility factors that have made you eligible for DA, and doing a deeper dive into that data. We will be talking about that throughout the year when we start going through the different kinds of data that we want you to analyze. Veronica already talked about this, but making sure that you have a team that is representative of your school and a representative of the student groups and indicators that makes you eligible for differentiated assistance. We have our virtual kickoff on February 11th. We had asked about if you wanted in person or virtual, and we have charter schools from 3 different counties that are working with us: Imperial County, Riverside County, and here. And so to start things off, we're going to have a virtual kickoff so that you can be together with your team, and your coaches will be there as well to help you support the work for that first meeting that we're going to be together. Make sure you have that launch page, because it's going to be added onto when new things emerge in terms of workshops or planning time or office hours with your coaches. All of that's going to be on one page. We really wanted to move away from having you getting lots of emails from us with things. And so if you had one landing page that if you needed any information, you could just go right there. So bookmark that page so that you can return to it throughout the year. And then you're going to be receiving an email from your coaching team within the next 2 weeks to introduce themselves to you and to talk about the work moving forward. I did want to add one little extra piece. When we talk about the affinity groupings in the charter space, we really wanted to have you working with charters that have either similar needs, like a CSI, or different structures, like if you're a virtual school versus a seat-based school, so that when we do come together in some smaller groups, that you can network and share with the other schools that are like yours, to have the opportunity to think about what the challenges that you're facing, the successes that you're having through the lens of that type of school. So we hope that that works for you this year. And as always, we're always going to be asking for feedback along the way. If you do want some additional information about differentiated assistance beyond what we shared with you in this slide deck, there are links here that take you straight to the dashboard, take you to the technical guide. There's a lot of information in there that talks about the technical pieces of DA that if you want to know more, it's there available for you. Next one. We started thinking about kids when we started this whole presentation, and One of the things that's really important is even if there's one child that's needs additional support or is challenged in any certain way, that sparks a need for change. And so we brought this quote forward to think about how our reflection on these children can help us think about their own brilliance and how we can use our own system to help support them along the way. So bulldozing the center of your mind, keeping in mind the needs, the kids, and the work that we're going to do together. Thank you very much for being here. There is a feedback form linked here to help us if you have feedback for us or you have questions. And please, Jewel and Deborah would be your main contacts if you have a question about eligibility or the path forward or the group that you're in or anything that's been shared. Please provide feedback or email us directly. We'd be glad to get on an individual call with you and talk through anything that is needed along the way. So I'm going to stop there and ask if there's any questions in the chat or anything that you need to share with us before we let you go and give you about a few minutes extra left in your day.
I have a quick question. This is Melissa from my academy. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Okay, so the February 11th meeting, it overlaps, I think, with a CSI meeting, or maybe I'm just wrong there. Because I have like a putting it all together meeting on my calendar that's at the same time as the DA meeting.
So one of the things that we're looking to do this year is we are trying to put it all together as a whole system. But what we did is we repurposed that day that we had held on everyone's calendar so that you already knew that you were going to spend time with us on February 11th. And so as we redesigned this year's, that original, what we called a PIOT, is now really specific to differentiated assistance, whereas what would have been the PIOT in March is going to be specific to LCAP. So while many of you are doing both, we also have many LEAs who are doing them separately, and anyone who's not in DA is engaging in LCAP work. So we just were trying to kind of create a system where they weren't as intertwined, even though they're really aligned. And so we are not going to have two separate conflicting meetings on that day, but instead that this will be the kickoff in which you will have opportunity to engage in CSI work because we are trying to align those processes for all of you this year.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, beautiful. Well, we thank you for joining us today. And like I said, if you have any questions about the next steps, please reach out to us. And if we don't, then we will see you on February 11th for our kickoff.